Welcome to Let's Talk Wellness, where we will be sharing insights into the world of mental health and wellness as we explore traditional medicine and holistic healing options. It's time to have new conversations about mental health. Join Mara James, the founder and CEO of the Hugs for Life Healing Center, as she guides us along this journey. And now, let's talk wellness.
Welcome to Let's Talk Wellness. I'm your host, Mara James, and I want to say thank you for joining us for today's conversation. During Let's Talk Wellness, we focus on healing, understanding, growth, and spirituality. This is part of the Hugs for Life Healing Center, a subsidiary of the nonprofit organization called Extraordinary Lives Foundation, where we're devoted to supporting mental health awareness and providing resources for children and their families. As the founder of these organizations, I have the great joy of collaborating with a team of amazing people to help bring healing to children and their families around the world. You could find about our information at elfempowers.org, and we can find the information in the show link below. Now, let's talk wellness with today's guest, Janine Francolini. Janine is the founder of the Flawless Foundation, a mental health awareness and advocacy organization. Welcome, Janine.
Thanks so much for having me.
It is such a pleasure. It's funny. What did we meet like 7 years ago when we were both visiting LA?
Yes.
It was kind of random. We were at the UCLA SEMO gathering where Demi Lovato was the head speaker.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember a woman sat us at the table and she stared me in the eyes. I didn't know her. And she says, "I handpicked all of you to be at this table." And I knew that at that point, you and I were meant to meet.
Yes.
And here we are 7 years later. It's so great to have you here.
Yeah.
So tell us about the Flawless Foundation. When did you first start it and why?
I started Flawless in 2008 for two reasons. I had mental health challenges of my own when I was a child, and they got pretty serious when I was an adolescent and young adult. And I got good care and I got better. So that was the first part of my inspiration. And the other thing was I was an educator in New York City private schools for 15 years. And I saw a public school for children with behavioral challenges that were kind of asked to leave every single program. So even special ed within their school, their behavior couldn't be managed. And it was the most horrifying thing that I ever saw. I couldn't believe that any kid would be in a school like this. And in the school, they were really trying. They were all wonderful, the teachers, but the resources were so limited. The police would have to come because there were acts of violence. It was just so terrifying and traumatizing, and the couches were ripped up and there were no material. So I just was called at that moment when I took that tour. That was it. I called up some friends in New York City and we just started to support that school, and one thing led to another, and it kind of blew up pretty quickly in a good way.
That is wonderful. And for the school, what age were the students at the school?
Kindergarten through sixth grade, I think. Maybe
so it was nice
grade.
And young. Wow. And it's amazing. People don't realize that children 4 years old, 5 years old, have had suicidal ideation and just so many things. Wow. That's amazing. And so did you actually work at that school or you worked with the school?
Worked with the school. We started by funding all kinds of holistic programs for them. We did gardening and yoga and music. We helped to get new furniture and all the things that I was actually living in a building then. And it was part of it was corporate housing for Nike because it was in Oregon. Nike and other companies. And so the building really rallied around, and when people would move out, which happened a lot, they would donate beautiful furniture to the school, and they adopted the school. It was amazing. We would do the holidays, and it was just so terrific. But the big thing was the holistic programming. and training teachers, supporting teachers. We did a lot of that in the early
Wow.
days. That was how it launched.
That's so beautiful. Are you still involved with the school?
No, no. We found that training teachers and adults that work with the kids was, a great way to go. We did that for many years. And then our communications kind of took off with our social media and our messaging. So we've really been focusing on that. We seem to have, feel like we have a big impact by changing the conversation about mental health, bringing it out in the open. And we do that through digital media and through our young adult leadership training program.
That's amazing. I'm sure the impact you had on the school and the lives of those children have changed forever. So thank you for that. So you shared with me about your own mental health. At what age were you aware that you were having some challenges?
It's interesting. I was adopted also, and I did learn about my health history when I was about 35. And I do have mental health issues on both sides of the family. So I'm genetically loaded. And I think that's a really important thing for people to understand, is how hereditary these conditions are. So I was, anxious, and even though I did really well always in school, and was talented in a lot of areas, so I looked pretty good, but I had severe challenges with my emotional life and all kinds of issues starting at a young age. And I think that's why I ended up going into education and becoming a teacher, because I had some really rough teachers, first, second grade, that I still remember. I would get into trouble, and it was just third grade. And then I had a terrific teacher in fourth grade that turned it all around for me. So,
yay.
Yeah, but then adolescence hit, and then the mental health challenges got much worse.
Much worse. So it's interesting you say with the teachers, because a teacher definitely can make or break. And I know back then it's more like, oh, it's a behavioral issue. God forbid they looked at underlying emotional challenges. Right. My son, who's now 24, it's been a miracle story, but when he was younger, I was grateful that none of his teachers hated him, because he could definitely be a pain in the tush, and they appreciated him and were able to keep him in line. And we also had diagnosis of spectrum and ADHD, so definitely things changed a lot. Have you ever heard of neuro-emotional technique? It's called NET. It's a technique that chiropractors often train with.
Yes.
Yeah, because it's amazing, because one of our healers does that, and he was saying when a fetus, like when a mother conceives, and at that moment, if she thinks for a second she doesn't want the child, like that child's going to have emotional issues, and not even on a conscious level. It's more like on a cellular or subconscious level. I know I've worked with a few people that their kids, like at 7 years old, were suicidal, and the parents, amazing parents, but these children, like on a deeper level, have that challenge. And and it's great that you've made it through to the other side, and now that you can help others with it.
Mm-hmm.
And you said, and thank you for being open with us and being vulnerable, because you're such a light to others. And you shared with me that you were hospitalized for attempting suicide. What age were you then? And can you share with us a little bit about that?
Sure. I was 17? Yeah, 17, 16 or 17. Yeah, 17. I was a senior in high school.
Mm.
Yeah. So I really struggled from my junior year on, really struggled with depression and suicide and eating disorders and anxiety. It was really
right. And what would you attribute your healing to? Medication, meditation? Yeah.
Medication didn't help me then. I'm very pro medication. So, but that was, a long time ago when we didn't have as many medications. It wasn't so good. So it didn't help me at all. So I would say I was in intensive therapy. The hospitalizations helped me a lot. And again, I was in intensive therapy for a long time, till I was in my 30s.
Right. And that's amazing. Look at how great you're doing today. Do you think, do you have to spend a lot of time on your mental health? Would you call yourself like in remission? Do you feel ever like you might be going off the deep end?
I think that, yes, I think that I spend a lot of time on my mental health. It's just it's second nature. I guess it's the way someone would be if they had diabetes or alcoholism or any kind of chronic condition or anything that you're at risk for.
Right.
So I spend a lot of time on my mental health. But it's second nature. Just wellness is really important to me. I watch my stress levels. I'm very connected socially. I have people I can talk to. I am absolutely obsessed with yoga. I do a lot of yoga. It helps me so much. Love yoga. I dance, I sing. So I have a lot of things that make my life very balanced, and I really take care of myself and prioritize my mental health is the most important thing.
That's huge. That is so key. You know, our mental, our health, our brain health is just as important as our physical health. And you mentioned yoga. It's so funny because I took a little hiatus, but I just went back to a yoga class on Saturday, and my body kept saying to me, "Thank you, thank you." And it's amazing whatever goes on in there, how it just like grounds you, and you walk out feeling so peaceful from it.
So good.
Wow. And now, so let's talk about your foundation, the mission, and the goals.
So our goal is to open up the conversation, normalize this topic. This affects every single family, and especially post-pandemic. So, the good news about the pandemic is now there's more attention on mental health. So we want people to be able to, the way I'm talking to you so openly about my history, want everybody to be able to do that early on, really into prevention. Like I said, we care a lot about what's happening in the schools, because if we can intervene then, we can prevent a lot later. And educating people. It's just such a topic that's in the darkness, taking it out of the shadows, being open about it, normalizing it, giving hope. Our social media channels, TikTok, Instagram, where, I have all these young college students on there dancing around, singing and talking about mental health in such an open way, and they make it really accessible. So that's what it's about, really connecting people and giving hope.
I think that is so powerful. And, I shared with you 8 years ago, I experienced a manic episode diagnosed with bipolar disorder. And for us to be out there speaking about it, inspiring others to speak about it and heal is so important. And also showing that it can happen to anybody.
Yes.
And there is, I don't know if you call it remission, or, there's a light at the end of the tunnel, and just to keep working on it.
I like to say that our mental health is on a spectrum. Our brain health is on a spectrum, and depending what's going on in your life, you can have symptoms. It's just kind of there's an ebb and flow to it. So I don't think a lot about remission, diagnosis, all of that. So mental health is on a spectrum, depending on external stresses and things like that.
Isn't it amazing how I feel like the universe is like always trying to push us like into more stress, more fear, anger, anxiety. And it's really important for us to be mindful and recognize that, and, kind of be ahead of the game, be more proactive instead of reactive.
Exactly. Prevention is so key. So key.
And why did you name the foundation the Flawless Foundation?
This is so funny. It's really random. It's really random. A friend of mine, there was this song, I think from the 90s, this techno song called Flawless by The Ones. And it has the best lyrics. And it's like, I think it's about a supermodel, but it's all about confidence, just like perfection, flawless, needs no correction, flawless, like no other, flawless, absolutely flawless. And we just want everyone to feel that way. That, our flaws are part of what makes us human, self-acceptance, self-forgiveness all the time.
Oh my gosh. And that sentence you said, we don't need correction.
Right. Needs
Beautiful.
No correction. Those are the lyrics.
That is amazing. And, what's so important about it, as a parent and thinking about with my children, like accepting them for who they were and not who I wanted them to be. Definitely a big challenge a lot of parents have, because we have this ideal vision of what we want our child to be. And then they come in with these little souls that what they want to be and how to really accept it and work with it, or kind of fight it and go against it. So I'm
Yes.
definitely going to have to listen to that song.
I think that's a great point to bring up. A really important piece of parenting that we're not prepared for is how random, how whatever, like they have their own ideas and journeys, like from day one. It's just something it's very humbling. Last night I was at a dinner and there was this older man. He was probably, I think he was about 87. And he was so interesting. He was telling this story about his family, and he raised his 3 girls in New York City, and they went to private schools in New York City, this very New York City kind of life. And one of them lives in the backwoods of Vermont. She's a lawyer, like small town lawyer that like chops her own wood and knits her own dresses, like totally off the grid. I mean, how did she grow up in New York City, right? How does that happen?
Wow. And it's his that's his daughter, one of his daughters?
His daughter.
And how was he in accepting that day one? I feel that these children definitely are here to challenge and teach us as parents. My middle child has been my greatest teacher, and that which didn't kill me made me stronger, and him. And my daughter, a very old soul who's 21, has definitely been a very big teacher for my husband, who, my family, you grow up, okay, we're going, which college do you go to? In his family, which graduate school? And then we have our daughter who, after first semester at Rutgers as a freshman, drops out. My husband's like, she can't, she shouldn't. And I'm like, really? Because if you push her, she might end up having an episode like with a 20-year-old that I was working with who is inpatient in mental health. So it's really, these kids like teach the parents about acceptance, don't judge, which is so hard, especially when it's our own kids.
Mm-hmm.
That's so interesting. I would have loved to ask that gentleman, his relationship. And sometimes even I see it with my physical therapist. Actually, she's having some issues with her mother, and she feels like she's the mother for her mother.
Mm-hmm.
And she doesn't want her mother around her children if she's going to continue to act the way she's acting. And she has to threaten her, like, listen, you need to get help. Otherwise, you're not going to be allowed to see your grandkids. And, it's sad that it comes to that, but hopefully, the grandmother could, have the courage to look in the mirror and see maybe some things of her personality aren't working. So really profound. We are going to take a brief break and we'll be right back. So hold tight.
In these shifting and changing times, more and more lives are being impacted by mental health. The Extraordinary Lives Foundation, also known as ELF, is transforming the way people view and navigate mental health challenges. Their mission is to improve children's mental health and wellness and support families by providing educational tools, resources, and awareness events. ELF encourages families to recognize symptoms, overcome the stigma, and reach out for help. Through prevention, early intervention, and holistic treatment, we believe many of the big problems facing today's youth can be transformed within a generation. Extraordinary Lives Foundation is excited to offer the Hugs for Life Healing Center, growing a worldwide network of approved holistic healers and bridging the gap between traditional and complementary healing options. Visit the Extraordinary Lives Foundation website at www.elfempowers.org to find out more about their resources and events. Together, we can change the conversation around mental health. We hope that you're enjoying today's Let's Talk Wellness podcast. And if you have a topic that you would like us to explore, we would love to hear from you. Simply email us at info@elfempowers.org. That's info@elfempowers.org. And now, back to the show.
Welcome back to Let's Talk Wellness. I'm your host, Mara James, and today's guest is Janine Francolini from the Flawless Foundation. Welcome back, Janine.
Great to be back. Looking forward to continuing this conversation.
So tell us, what does a day in the life of Flawless look like?
Okay. So it involves a lot of social media for sure. and supervising our college interns and our fellows who are putting up TikToks, and they're doing Instagram live interviews and all kinds of things like that. So it involves that a lot. But the really rewarding thing, it's so moving, is when we do our flawless workshops or outreach. So we do them with kids up to older adults with a range, usually they have mental health challenges. They're involved in the juvenile justice system. But we recently did something really fun. We trained 48 high school leaders. We did a workshop with them. And I'll lead you through a little bit of what I have, some show and tell. We have our flawless tattoos that we give them.
Wait, let me see. I can't see it.
So here's the gold
it's a little hard. Oh, that's so fun. Oh, it's written for people that are listening. It's written in gold, and it says flawless. Beautiful.
Right. So we have our tattoos, and we have our backpacks. And these we use for outreach. We put water in these, cold water and tattoos and inspirational postcards that the kids make. And we give them out to people who are on the streets, living on the streets, or people who are working on the streets, police officers, sanitation workers. One of our favorite friends is someone who cleans the bathroom attendant in a park. Her name is Gladys. She's like, oh, this is so hard. So we do that. We do outreach at the Veterans Hospital. Outside the Veterans Hospital, we learned something. Some veterans need transportation sometimes. They don't have cars, so they're getting picked up and they have to wait there for a while. So we go again and give out water and tattoos and backpacks and all of the flawless. And we've had just incredible, the power of the message. It's simple, but changes a day. One time we bumped into a veteran and he told us he started crying after we chatted with him for a while because he was at the Veterans Hospital because he just lost his housing. It was going to be homeless that night.
Oh my goodness.
And
he probably just brought such a love and light and smile.
Yeah, it's just a simple way to connect. So that's the outreach. And then the workshops are also simple, but super powerful. We have flawless Post-it notes that say you are flawless on them. And what we do is we sit with the group and they first write something flawless about themselves. So I am good at soccer or whatever. And then they write, and we put it up on a wall, and then they write it about someone else. So it's like a little note and friendship note to the other person. And then we go around and share all of that. And then we have different workshops. Sometimes they do art with it, and oh my gosh, they're so talented. They do the most gorgeous art that we could make t-shirts from. And we make postcards out of the art. I have one. I think I had one here. Yeah, this one I love. This was a child who had autism, and he took flawless and he wrote the letters this way. And each letter had something inspirational: forever, laughter, attitude, wonderful, logic, example, social, share emotions.
Oh my goodness. How old was that child?
About 13, maybe.
Wow.
Yeah. So it's been and the adults love it. The kids, again, super simple, but people connect really closely, quickly doing these workshops. It's amazing.
Well, and what's amazing about it, there's the difference, the word illness versus wellness, and literally the I in wellness, change it with the we in wellness. Yes. And you are bringing people together. You're giving them a voice and lending them an ear. And also just hearing you is getting me so excited. So, and you bring that to everybody that you work with. That is beautiful. And these workshops, they're in person currently?
Yes.
In Florida?
We've done them. We actually did one at USC a few years ago at the college with some So we've done, they're all over. We do them in New York, all over, wherever we have, wherever anyone wants us to come, we'll do them. And wow. It's really amazing. Yeah. So we're doing that. And then the last exciting thing is we have a real focus on wellness for boys, mental health and wellness for young men and men. Because we happen to have a lot of student athletes who work for us. So we're working on a documentary it's called Lessons in Resilience from the Sports Field. So these boys are sharing their stories of resilience, which are amazing. They have incredible stories. And then we're going to make an online course for high school boys, 9th through 12th grade. about tips to make sure you hydrate, but it's going to be the young people sharing their insights and their advice.
And that will be virtual. They'll be
The online course will be virtual.
Online.
We do present at conferences. I present with an athlete, and we do present this body of work at professional conferences, and it's called Lessons in Resilience from the Sports Field. We just presented at the National Federation of Families. You probably know that organization.
Yeah.
It's a great, we presented there in Oklahoma.
Oh, wow. And it's so funny because after our call, I have a call with the Oakland A's. We hosted a mental health awareness event pre-COVID 2019. They want to discuss having another one possibly and doing a panel. So let's speak to you if you want to hop on a plane, come to visit California, probably in May. We'd love to have you be part of that.
I would love it. It would be great. Definitely.
Wow. So now with other things that you have helped the students with, I mean, it just sounds like you're really, doing things for their body, the mind, the spirit. You're bringing out like the artistic in them. Are there other things that you could share? Well,
with this one, we work with this incredible program of kids who are incarcerated, unbelievable stories. They're just so inspiring. And this, I love when we do it with the boys. Well, boys, though that program happens to be separated by gender, but we'll take a backpack and one of our student athletes will put whatever he likes to do for self-care in the backpack, and we'll present it and explain each thing. And then we give them backpacks and ask them for their wish list, and we fill them with what they wanted, what self-care items they want. And incredible, like this one college student was talking about this book, Grit by, I think, Angela Duckworth. It was like a book he used in college, and these 13-year-olds wanted it. And we went online and ordered all these books for them. Oh, yeah, really amazing. So we do that. Yeah, it's really...
What I love, like when anybody gets vulnerable, definitely, a tough or cool athlete,
right?
What kind of things do the athletes that you work with usually put into their backpack for their
skincare, masks, face masks? That was a huge hit. And the boys, we all did face masks together. This is my favorite thing that always surprises me. A lot of them like to read books. Like it's so great. So they have books. Wow. Actual books. Journaling is very popular, but journaling, music, hydration is big. They're just really amazing. They'll bring in music. They love listening to music with that's just amazing. Yeah.
Wow. So now with the workshops, you are open. Will you go to different colleges if you're asked to, different high schools?
Anywhere. Yeah. Anyway. It's so universal. Like I said, we work with a really beautiful program here in West Palm Beach. It's people with serious mental illness, adults. And so it's kind of like a clubhouse format. And it's just so sweet. And we'll bring them a healthy lunch and we'll have different themes about self-care as well. We got an amazing donation of yoga mats recently, a large donation of yoga mats, which was out of the blue. Someone just found us on the internet. It was so nice.
Oh my God. I love when someone reaches out to you. You're like, yes, please.
Amazing. Routine Fitness. Thank you. Right. So we have been giving them out to all these organizations and kids, and it's been wonderful. And
I love that. And it's so funny. My husband's twin sister is moving back to West Palm Beach. I'm definitely going to have her reach out to you. Okay. She's a social worker by training. And I think it'd be really powerful for the two of you to connect.
Yes, definitely. Great.
Yeah, that's great. So now tell me, I know we spoke a little on the phone about you are on the board at USC with Ellen Sachs. I think it was the Institute for Mental Health Law, Policy, Ethics. Is that correct?
Yes.
Can you? It's
just Sachs Institute for it's the Sachs Institute. Yeah.
So can you tell us? I think it's just so powerful.
Her story.
I know you like to downplay it, but if you could share with us a little bit about that.
Sure. It's just her story is so amazing. She's so inspirational. So Ellen has schizophrenia, and she is, just a huge thought leader in this field. And she won a MacArthur Genius Award for $500,000, and she started this institute at USC Law School, and she does a lot around policy change and research. And she holds pre-COVID, she did fantastic panel discussions. One time I went to, I think it was 2 days of a decriminalizing mental illness, 2-day conference that was so powerful. She just is amazing. So.
And it's amazing because she was one of the people that was I didn't know her then, but she was at our table at the UCLA seminar.
Right. I brought her as my guest. Yeah. So her book is called The Center Cannot Hold. And her TED Talk has like 5 million views. The TED Talk is phenomenal.
Wow. And is she a lawyer by trade, you said? Or
yes.
That's amazing. It just really.
She's a law professor, and she also has a PhD, and she's a million degrees. She's amazing, just brilliant.
It's amazing. And I always say, like, when you have a mental health challenge, there's a gift. The greater the challenge, the greater the gift. And look at her; she's an absolute genius.
Yes.
Oh my goodness, that is so beautiful. So, if people, so I forgot to ask, is there a fee if people want to have a workshop at their local high school or college?
It depends. There's a sliding scale, and it depends. Yes.
Okay.
Sometimes we have grants like these. We had gotten some grants to do it locally, but it depends on.
Sure.
All.
Yeah. Beautiful. And what is the best way for people to get in touch with you or with the organization?
So following us on social media at Flawless Foundation. On Twitter, we're Flawless Grats, Grats, Flawless Grats on Twitter. And TikTok, Instagram, LinkedIn, everywhere. And then email is info@flawlessfoundation.org.
Beautiful. And we'll list all of those in the show information so people can get in touch with you.
Great.
So before we go, I'd love to hear, what is your greatest piece of advice? Like, what would you tell yourself when you were a younger child?
I think I would tell my younger self what I said in the beginning about how my challenge is that this is a condition, this is biology, this is biochemistry. I wish I had understood that when I was younger. I really do, because there was so much blame and shame then.
Oh, that blame, shame, and guilt, right?
Yes, that you're like a bad kid and you're dramatic and all those words. Right. Looking for attention, and that was hard.
Yeah. Well, I'm so glad that you are sharing your bright light with us and with the world. It is so amazing to reconnect with you. I hope I will definitely see you either when I'm visiting Florida or when you're out here, California. Maybe we'll meet in the middle of New York. And I'd like to share with you and all of our watchers and listeners that you are amazing.
You are flawless.
Thank you for joining us for this episode of Let's Talk Wellness. This podcast has been brought to you by the Hugs for Life Healing Center, a division of the Extraordinary Lives Foundation, a 501c3 nonprofit organization. If you would like to listen to more conversations like this, we invite you to subscribe to our mailing list at www.elfempowers.org to be notified when our weekly episodes are published. Thank you for joining us, and we look forward to bringing you our next conversation on Let's Talk Wellness.